Good morning, everybody. Coach Aaron here from Fitness Legacy. Today I'm coming at you with a video on the energy gap and the dangers and problems with losing weight too aggressively or too quickly. So if that's interesting, make sure you stick around for the whole video. Don't forget to like the video, comment down below, tell me, put either hashtag live or hashtag replay based on whether or not you're watching the video live or watching the replay later on. And if any questions come up during this video, feel free to put them in the comments down below and I'll answer as we go through, or I'll answer the questions at the end depending on how everything works. Here's the thing. The idea of the energy gap and the problems with weight loss that a lot of people run into. So first, I need to dispel a myth. And the myth is that Americans have a problem with weight loss. We actually don't. The statistics show that 6 out of 7 people will successfully lose a significant amount of weight at some point during their life. If that's true, then where's the problem? The problem is not losing the weight. The problem that we run into in our country and in our culture is keeping the weight off. And I will be honest, if you look around, you can see that the deck is stacked against you. There are a lot of things that go into influencing your food decisions and making it harder for you to continually make good decisions regarding your health and your weight. So, and what the research shows is that if you do lose a significant amount of weight, which I believe significant amount of weight is defined as 10% of your original body weight or more, then over a 3-year period, 95% of people will gain all of the weight back. And between 1/3 and 2/3 of that 95% will actually put on more weight than they originally lost. And if that's you, feel free to put your hand up. That's happened to a lot of people before. Okay, I've seen it with my clients. I've even experienced it to a smaller degree myself. I feel like I've got a pretty decent handle on it, but I've still seen like, okay, I know what this is. I've experienced a little bit of it myself. And I know I definitely saw it with my dad. My dad, for those of you who are not aware, my dad passed away at the age of 50 of a heart attack. He was overweight. He was very much like myself. He was underweight for a large portion of his life, and he actually gained weight when he went into boot camp, but somewhere along the way something shifted. He became a type 2 diabetic, and then by the time he hit 50 years old, he'd had a heart attack. He's a big part of my motivation, why I work with people, why I'm motivated for myself, and why I'm motivated to help other people. So I watched this happen to my dad several times. So how does this happen? What's the problem? So the problem comes with what we call the energy gap. So if you're going to be losing weight, in order to lose weight, you have to create an energy gap. That's the gap between the energy that you're burning and the energy that you're taking in. That's the gap. The bigger the gap, the larger the weight loss in the short term that you will experience. But here's the problem. The bigger the energy gap, whenever this thing occurs, your body, from an instinctive perspective, from a survival perspective, is going to try to close that gap so you don't die. Your brain does not care about wearing a bikini or going shirtless at the beach. Your brain does not care about, I love one of my coaches said, like, your body has a flinch reflex, a startle reflex. It does not have a backflip or a slam dunk reflex. Your body's wired for survival. And it's true whenever it comes to food and weight loss and fat loss as well. Your body is wired to find ways to make you more death resistant, because death is bad. And so it will try to find a way to close this gap even if you're still in an energy deficit. And it does it through a few different ways. You have your basal metabolic rate, which is your base metabolism. Your body will find ways to suppress it, to bring it down. You also have what's called non-exercise activity. These are the little movements and fidgets, my arms right now. Your body will find a way to reduce those things, to decrease energy utilization, decrease calorie burn. I actually was watching a video from one guy who said that he looked back at some videos that he did when he was dieting hard for a show or a contest, and he said he noticed that he talked slower and he even blinked slower. So these are different ways your body tries to trim the fat, or rather not trim the fat, tries to cut corners with regards to burning energy. It's pinching pennies, pinching calories, if you would. You'll also have your exercise efficiency. increase, which you might think on the surface is a good thing, but it's not. So whenever your body is more efficient at exercise, it means it actually costs you less to do the same thing. And with regards to performance, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It costs me less effort to move 20 pounds or 50 pounds. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it also means it's going to cost me less energy. You'll also find that your cravings go up. So your desire for food and desire specifically for calorie-dense foods will increase, which, again, from a survival perspective, that makes you look around more. That makes you hunt better. Makes you hunt more. Motivates you to get going and find things. And your satisfaction from food goes down. All of this is designed to stack the deck against your weight loss so that the energy stores you currently have will last as long as possible, and when you come upon energy for your body to store, it will store it quickly. Okay? Who has experienced something like this before? You're like, okay, yeah, I've dieted, and I like all of these things happen to me. It happens all the time. So, what has actually been studied with research? These are not just temporary 2, 5, 10-day changes. They can be long persisting changes. There was a study that was done in rats, and what they did was they controlled all of the calories, or rather they measured all of the calories, and they had them diet and then stop dieting, and then diet and stop dieting to see what would happen to the rate of weight loss. And so what happened, I'm just going to use pounds as an example for simple sake. Diet 1, let's say that they lost a rate of 1 pound, 1 ounce, whatever, 1 pound per week. Rats aren't losing a pound per week, but you get the point. Okay. When they regained the weight, they actually regained at double the rate that they lost. So what they did is they controlled the calories, brought the rat's weight down, saw how long it took, and then they just let them go back to doing whatever they wanted to do. The rats could exercise whenever they want. They could eat whenever they want. And their desire for exercise came down. Their efficiency for exercise went up, so what exercise they did didn't burn as many calories, and their desire for food went up, and they actually regained the weight at twice the rate that they lost it. Okay? And then they dieted them again, using the same amount of calories. So the same calorie deficit, and they lost half the weight, or for this example, half a pound per week instead of a pound, when they previously had lost 1 pound per week. Okay? Who has ever done the exact same diet before and had slower results? If that's you, give me, put a me in the comments down below. But then, when they let them go back to eating again, what happened? They gained back triple the rate. No, actually, this was wrong. This is wrong. It's triple this rate. So they gained back at triple the rate they had originally lost. Okay? So this is what happens to people. Is you diet hard, you lose a significant amount of weight, and then you regain the weight, and then you diet again, you diet the same as you did before, maybe even harder, weight loss slows down, and then you put the weight back on even faster again. Okay? That's because all of these changes have occurred, they're not being factored into your plan. Okay? If you're doing a really solid plan, these things will be factored in, and you will also recognize that as your metabolism comes down, it is going to take time to build it back up. And what happens is people stop their diet here and go with their calorie intake, and all this becomes weight regain. Okay? So I hope that makes sense to you. Hopefully that gives you kind of some ahas, like, oh, okay, now I'm starting to understand what happened to me before. So that's part of why in the research it's actually been shown that 95% of people who lost the weight and then regain it, health-wise, they actually would have been better off had they never lost the weight in the first place. There's actually been plenty of research that shows even if you don't lose the weight, if you just exercise, you're going to get a ton of health benefits, even more than somebody who loses the weight without exercising. But the catch here is you don't want to just lose the weight and then throw it back on or go back to doing what you've done before. What helps you lose the weight has to be habit changes that you can maintain for the rest of your life. So, somebody asked earlier on my first post whenever I mentioned about this video that, okay, will cutting carbs help me to lose weight or get a six-pack? The truth is actually yes. Now, for the most part, what research has shown is if your protein and your calories are the same, you can have more fat or more carbs, and it really doesn't make a big difference whenever it comes to weight loss. I do think temporary restriction of carbohydrates can have some health benefits regardless of weight loss. But when it comes to weight loss, okay, some people function better on more fat, some people function better on more carbs. The biggest thing is keeping the calories and the protein where they're supposed to be. So would reducing carbs help you? From a practical standpoint, reducing carbs can be helpful for weight loss. But you also have to be able to factor in, okay, how am I going to bring my calories and my carbohydrates back up? Or do you actually think that you're going to be able to do low carb or no carb for the rest of your life? Most people, the answer to that is no. As much as I personally like to use the ketogenic diet for my own dieting, I'm not going to do that forever. I like carbs. So, and if you like carbs, raise your hand. So, your habits have to be something that is reasonably sustainable. And the longer you're in a calorie deficit, that's part of where the diet after the diet becomes even more important. And that's one of the most overlooked aspects of everything people do whenever they diet today. Just look at any sort of fitness competitor, somebody who did bikini shows, especially the females, and they diet down, and then they gain weight back, then they diet down for the next show, and it keeps getting harder and harder and harder every time, and they gain more and more until they reach a point where they just can't do it anymore, or they're eating 800 calories a day. If this is you, then you need to find somebody who has been looking at this for a lot longer than you, working with people. You need to find somebody who can help you, whether that's myself and my team or somebody else. It doesn't matter to me. You need to find somebody to help you look at things, figure out what you've been doing, and figure out, okay, what's going to be our game plan to help you get to your goals and to help you do things in a healthy, sustainable way. So that's my recommendation for you today. If you're interested in talking with me about how our program works, feel free to give me a comment down below or just shoot me a private message. Private message, what most people do. Or find somebody who is knowledgeable and experienced in this. Biggest problem I see for a lot of people is they feel like they should be able to do it themselves. Do you feel like you should be able to do your own plumbing yourself? Do you feel like you should be able to fix your car yourself? Most people don't, because they realize I went to school for something else. And whereas I do think, yeah, there's a certain amount of maintaining my own body that you should be able to learn. Most people haven't learned it, and avoiding a teacher is not going to help you learn it. Okay? Find somebody who's going to help you. Find somebody who's going to point out things that you haven't seen or has learned things that you haven't learned yet, and then learn from them. All right? I hope you have a fantastic day. If this video was helpful for you, feel free to give me a comment down below. Let me know what you found most interesting or intriguing, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Have a wonderful, wonderful Monday.